Hey, it's Lucky. I make a lot of first-person games in Godot, and I find that making first-person animations can be quite hard to get into, and I found a very easy way to do it. So I'm going to show you how I made these animations today. All the models, the hands, the shotgun are also in this video, so don't need to worry about that. And I'm going to be starting off with the first-person demo I built in my last tutorial, which will be the first link in the description. So just follow that to get the starting point that we're using today for this tutorial. All the animations are done in Godot, so you don't need to use Blender or anything. It's very easy. Yeah, let's get into it. Let me close out of this. So first we're going to collect the assets. The hand model I made myself. It was very quickly done in like 10 minutes in Blender. I'll link it down below. It's public domain, so use it for whatever you want. But if you use it for something cool, send me a link because I want to see it. Alright, we're also going to be using the shotgun model. I found this free model online on CG Traders. It's going to be the second link in the description. So download this. And it's going to give us a little timer. And we're also going to be using this pixel perfect outline shader. I'm also going to be linking this in the description. Shaders can be very daunting, but I'll show you how to set it up. It's very easy. So just wait for this. We're going to be using the Blender file, so download this, and the textures, download this as well. And you can see the file sizes are quite big, but we're not using everything, so it will be okay. Open up the Blender file in Blender. The only thing we're going to be doing in Blender is exporting this for Godot, because it prefers a different file size. So I'm just going to do nothing except hit File, Export, GLTF 2.0. Click it, and on my desktop I have this assets folder with the hands, and I'll just go shotgun model. Export it. That's all we need to do in Blender. Close it out, don't need to save it. Next up we're going to be creating a folder in the assets folder for the material. So new folder, shotgun, let's actually call it textures. Go in there, open up the texture zip that we downloaded, and in the texture zip we're going to be using the Unreal Engine textures. So grab these three and drop into textures. Alright, that's all we need from there. Let's get into Godot. Open up Godot 4.0 and open up the project we left off with. Again, first link in the description is the tutorial for setting this up. The audio was quite bad in that video, but you have to turn off the volume a little bit. I hope this one is better. Alright, so where did we leave off? We just have this first person controller walking around this world. We're going to be adding the weapon and the animations to it. Stop this. So first I'm going to need you to understand how first person weapons work in video games. There's actually two different cameras in most video games. One for the world and one for the weapon. This is for two reasons. The first one is if you just add the weapon to this camera and you walk up really close to a wall, it's going to be clipping in the wall. Clipping meaning it's going to go in the wall. So if you use a second camera that's only for the weapon and doesn't render any of the walls, you won't have this problem. The second reason we're going to be using a second camera is so the weapon can have its own field of view. And field of view is how wide the view of a camera is. You can think of this as a fisheye lens as a very wide field of view, and a zoom lens has a very narrow field of view. And this is useful for one reason, and I'll show you in a second. But first, let's set it up. So to add a second camera in Godot, you're going to be using a viewport. So we're going to go into our player scene, and under head, under the camera, right click it, add a child node. Search for viewport container. In Godot 4 they call it sub viewport container, in the other versions it's just viewport container. Create it, we're going to be resizing this so it's the full size of the screen. You can see the blue line right here is the size of the screen. And to do this, you click on this little ball with a cross inside and click on the most bottom right one. It says full rect. There you go. Now you can see it's the full size of the display. Then it's going to need a viewport. That's why it's giving an error right now. So right click the sub viewport container, add a child node, and add a viewport. And this viewport is going to need its own camera. Like I explained before, I'm going to be using two cameras. So right click on the viewport, add a child node, and add a 3D camera. Create. So now you can see we have two cameras. And we're going to be lining these up so they're at the same spot in the world. But we're going to do that in code, and I'll show you why. So to add the hands and the shotgun to this camera, you could just add them here, but we're not going to do that. We're going to be creating our own scene for the first person view, just to keep things organized. So I'm quickly going to be renaming this so they're not the same name. I'm going to be calling it view model camera. And to make this its own scene, right click it and save branch as scene. And we're just going to be calling this view model. Save. And its own scene just means it's its own file. Alright, click this little clipper icon and we're now in the first person view model scene. So let's first add the hands and the shotgun to this. So we're gonna drag this down and I'm gonna be drag and dropping the assets folder that I just created into the file system right here. Gonna do a little importing. And now we have the hands, the shotgun, and the shotgun materials. So let's first set up all the materials we need. I'll go into my file system, create a new folder, right clicking it, going to new folder, got it, materials. And we're going to be creating two materials. The first one is the hand material. So go right click the material folder, new, resource, material, and you can use the standard material 3D. Create, we'll call this one hands material, save it, double click it, and let's set it up. We're going to be using toon shading. It's just a little softer and it's nice for these hands. So on the right, when you double click it, you get the material. You go into shading and diffuse mode, we're going to go toon. And then for specular, we're also going to go toon. Next, we're going to add the outline, which we're going to do by a shader. And we're actually going to add this in a next pass. So scroll down in the material, and here says next pass, create a new one, and create a shader material. And then click on the shader material, and then shader, it says empty. Click new shader, and I'm just going to be creating a new folder, shaders, and this one's going to be outline.gd shader. Create. And then when we click on it in the material again, you can see here we can write our shader code, and we're going to be using this pixel perfect outline shader. Link is in the description. So just copy all this, paste it in, and now it updates. It's just black here, but you can see in the actual material it's got this little outline. Looks nice. Next material is going to be the shotgun material. You can actually save this and go back to output. Right click the materials folder in your file system, new, resource, another standard material, and this one is going to be shotgun material. Double click it, and we're going to be adding the textures to this material. So in our assets folder, we have the shotgun textures folder, And the first thing we're going to do is the color, which is albedo. Open that up and you can see texture is empty, and you can just drag and wait, let me show you the names. You can just drag and drop this base color into the texture. Next, the normal map. So just open up normal map, just enable it, and drag and drop the normal map into the texture. Then we're going to do the ambient occlusion. Enable it and drag the ambient occlusion texture in there. This is a combined texture, meaning the ambient occlusion, roughness and metallicness are in the same texture, just on different channels. And you can select the channel down here, and it's RGB, so occlusion, roughness, metallicness, RGB. Occlusion is red, and roughness is going to be green. So go into the roughness, drop the same texture in there, and select the green channel. And then last, metallicness. Open it up, drop the texture in there, and this is going to be the blue channel. That's materials all done. Collapse this. Let's add in the models. Before we add in the models, we're going to create a subnode, so they're not directly a child of the camera, but instead have their own parent. And I'll show you why. So click on the view model camera, add a child node, node 3D, and this is going to be our FPS rig, first person shooter rig. And in here we might have multiple weapons, so not only the shotgun. So we're going to create another child node, and we'll call this shotgun. I'm renaming this by double clicking it. And in the shotgun we can finally add our models. So go into assets and drag in the shotgun model. Drag and drop it onto shotgun. Now you can see this background was included in the shotgun and we don't need it. So to remove this, right click the shotgun model, not shotgun, shotgun model, and click make local. This means that this scene is local to the view model camera, so we can edit all its children. All its children being the pieces of the model. And we don't need this plane. It's the bottom one, you can see. The background, we don't need it, so just right click, delete it. Next you can see all the parts of the shotgun are separate. It's actually nice, so we can animate it if we want. So let's apply the material to this shotgun. You can just drag and drop the shotgun material from the file system onto each part and select material override. Do this for everyone. And now we have this nice looking shotgun. Next we'll do the hands. So just drag and drop the hand model onto the shotgun. Not the shotgun model, but the shotgun container. And you can see it's giant, and that's my bad. I made this model, I'm sorry. But you can just scale it down by going R or selecting this button. I'm going to be using all the keyboard shortcuts, so R is for scaling, get the scaling, E is for rotating, and you get these balls and you can rotate it, and W is for moving, and you can move it around. So if you ever see me scaling, rotating or moving, I'm just pressing those buttons and grabbing these handles. So go R, and we can scale the whole thing by just dragging anywhere except the handles. There you go, make it a little smaller. You can use the shotgun as a reference. Like that, I think. And also for the hand, we're going to be right clicking it and making local. So now you can see this hand and all its fingers, which I made this way so you can rotate individual pieces of the hand for easy animation. To apply the material, we can just go select the first one, hold down shift, select the last one, and drop in the, here in surface material override, drop in the hands material. And now you can see it's got that nice cartoony outline. Awesome. Let's rename this hand to left hand, and then right click, duplicate it for right hand. Now let's position these. To position these, we're going to be using a separate view so we can see the camera, or what the camera sees actually. So I'm just going to be dragging this down. Actually, I can close it by clicking on output and dragging this in so I can get a better view. And then on the top, I'm going to click view, 2 viewports, and on the bottom one, you're just going to have to select the camera and click preview right here in the top left, so you can see what the camera sees. And I'm going to drag this down again. So here you have a little preview of the game, and here you can see the models. So let's start with the shotgun. Collapse all the hands, go into first person rig, shotgun model, and I'm going to be rotating it. So again, E, holding down control, dragging this, align it. Always have your weapon pointing straight ahead, otherwise it looks wonky. And then W, I'm just going to be positioning it down a little bit, back a little bit, to the right a little bit. And let's just hide these hands for now. You can click the little eye next to the hands to hide them. And as you can see in the preview, the shotgun is looking very skinny and long. And this is what I explained before, why we need the second camera, so we can change the field of view. So in the view model camera, here on the top left, you can change the FOV field of view. Most games use a very low FOV for the weapons, and a higher FOV for the game. It just looks nicer, you'll see it in a second. So I'm just going to change this from this to 35, and then drag this down again and move the shotgun in a little, move the shotgun, so FPS rig, shotgun model, move this in a little bit, up a little bit, back, just get it so it looks nice. And you can see now the shotgun doesn't look super skinny and long, but a lot nicer because it's more packed together, because the field of view is denser. Alright, let's put the hands on here. Drag it down again. I'll start with the right hand. So I'll show the right hand. Select it. And we'll just move it into position first. Move it down to the right. E to rotate. Rotate it. W to move it up, move it a little bit to the side, so it's nice and on the grip. And then we're going to be folding this thumb over. And this is why I made this separate hand model for Godot, because usually you would use an animation rig, animate it in Blender, import it in Godot, blah 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 blah. But we don't want an animation rig because they're not very easy to use within Godot. So instead, every finger, every joint is a separate object. We can just rotate them. So let's go to the thumb. Thumb 0 is the base. And let's rotate it around this grip. So we'll go E again. Rotate a little bit. You can also move them because they're separate. Move it up a little bit. And you can see the hand is too far forward. So scroll back up. Select the right hand. Move it back a little bit. Like that. And now let's go back to the thumb. Select the second joint. E. Rotate it down. If you're not sure about hand positions, just look down at your own hands. Just grab something and look how your hands are positioned, and you'll get the hang of it very quickly. And the last part of the thumb, rotate it all the way around. actually going to be moving the hand up a little bit and rotating it out. And rotating it, moving it. And now I would actually like the thumb to be down a little more. So go back into thumb, rotate it, move it. If you want the rotation axis to be like mine, so they're tilted with the thumb, so it's easier to rotate, you have to use this local space button. This is global space, so it's always straight, but you can use local space and get the actual curvature of the thumb in the rotation. I'm going to be moving it again, moving it in a little bit. Just a little bit. Right there. I'm going to select the whole hand again, move it down a little bit. Maybe actually scale down the hand a little bit. This part, getting the poses and the animations right, you're just gonna have to get used to it. Play around with it a lot. It's actually a lot of fun once you get in the flow. And just, yeah, take your time with it. Make them nice. One quick trick for this rig is you can select a whole finger. So go index, shift, and select all the joints of the index finger. And if you go into the inspector here, not in the 3D view, but in the inspector, and go transform and rotate on the x-axis, you can curl the whole finger, you see? So you can easily get a grip. But we're not going to do that for this grip pose, because you don't see the fingers. You see they're not visible in this pose. So I actually don't need them at all. So I'm just going to hide them. Just going to go ring finger all the way up to index. Hide them. Less animation, easy. Right hand. Move it in a little bit again. Just try and get it nice. Down a little more. Now I'm going to be doing the same thing for the other hand. So for the left hand, selecting this, and I'll actually do a time lapse for this one because you get the gist. Just move around the fingers, move around the hand until the pose hits there. Alright, I like that pose. As you can see, I just moved around fingers, moved around the hand, until I got something that looked nice in the viewport. I don't care about this one because we're not going to be seeing the back of the model anyway, we're just going to be seeing this. So last thing I want to do is actually grab all of them. So select the hand, the left hand in the shotgun model by shift clicking and move the whole thing. Oop. Don't select local space, select global space by clicking the little box. Move it all a little closer to the camera and a little more to the left. Alright, looks good. Save this scene, go back into player, save this scene, and now let's run it and see what it looks like. So what you can see happening here is the two different viewports rendering. The top left is just for the weapon and the top right is just for the world. And right now they're not aligned and the top left is not transparent, so it looks very bad. And I'm going to show you how to fix it. Let's do it. First off, we're going to go into sub viewport and enabling transparency right here. And right now this is very important. There's a bug in 4.0 where if you have blurring enabled, transparency doesn't work. I spent days trying to figure this out, but I finally figured it out. So go back in your world scene, or in any world environment that you have, and disable the camera attribute, the depth of field blurring. Disable this everywhere. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. I couldn't figure it out, but I finally got it. So there you go. So now if we run it, you can see the weapon is rendering on the top left, and the world is rendering around it, but it's still not the right size. So let's update that now. And like I said, we're doing this in script. So go to scripts, and in your player script, which we created last tutorial, follow that tutorial to get to this point. In the ready function, drag and drop the sub viewport from the hierarchy into the code to get a reference. And then we're going to go dot size, because we want to update the size. We're going to set it equal to the size of the display, which is display server dot get window size, or window get size. And that's all you need to do. So let's run it now. And you can see the second viewport is the right size and it's in the right position, so that's all good. But there's another bug. You can see these orange boxes on the top left and top right. Those are actually the archway. And why is this? It's because we're not updating the position of the shotgun and the second camera. So they're just right there in the ground, rendering the arch and the lighting that's inside of the arch. That's why it looks all dark. So let's map the second camera to the first camera. It's also very easy. Just going to be doing this in physics process. So in here at the top, create a couple of lines, and we're going to be needing our camera and our viewport camera. So we'll go drag and drop again, viewport camera into physics process to get a reference, and then we're just going to go dot global transform equals the global transform of the other camera. So this one, we already have a variable for this. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, dot global transform. And now the two cameras match up. So let's run it again. So let's look at it now. And you can see the weapon has its lighting updating, and the positioning is good. So that's all what we want. There's only one more problem, and that's the weapon doesn't have its own layer. So right now the weapon camera and the world camera are rendering both the weapon and the world, and we want to separate that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually very easy. Go into the view model camera and deselect all the masks except layer 2. So now layer 2 is our weapon layer, and layer 1 is going to be our world layer. So in the main camera, the world camera, this top one right here, I'm going to be deselecting layer 2, so it doesn't show the weapon, but only the world. And now we need to go into our view model, go into 3D, and we're going to be setting all these models to layer 2, so they're only on the weapon layer. So let's open this one up, open this one up, open this one up, and just select all the meshes, so everything with a square with a cross, select them, select layers, they're just in 2, not in 1, just in 2. Same for the hand, select all the parts, just in 2, not in 1. Right hand as well, select them all, just in 2 and not in 1. And now when we run it, you can see the weapon is rendering. There's no crazy second rendering. The lighting looks all good. Awesome. Now the weapon looks very static. It's not moving when we're looking around. It's not animating. So let's get into this next. The first animation we're going to add is a procedural animation, the swaying animation. So when you look left and right, the weapon moves a little bit to the left and the right. We're going to do this in code. So we're going to go into our view model camera, click on it, and add a script right here. View model is fine, so just click create. And in order to sway the rig, we're going to need a reference to the rig, of course. So drag and drop FPS rig, in the top of the code and hold down Control. This way it creates a variable FPS rig for the FPS rig. How we're going to be creating this sway animation is by always animating the rig to be at its default position, and then when we move the mouse we move it a little bit to the left and the right, and the rig is going to be repositioning it to the default position. If you don't understand what I just said, I'll show you. It's very easy. In the process function, we're going to go fps rig.position.x, and again we're going to be animating this to 0, and for this we're going to be using the lerp function, which interpolates the position, so it slowly moves back to 0 instead of being really fast. I'm going to be setting it equal to lerp. So I'm going to be lerping its position.x back to 0. And the third variable is the weight. We're just going to use delta. And we're going to speed it up a little bit. So we're going to do 5. Let's also do this for the y position. Just change the axis for y's. And we're going to remove this pause. So that's all for setting it back to default. And now let's sway it. So we'll add a new function, call it sway. And we're going to pass this function a variable sway amount. And then, like I explained, we're going to be moving the rig by this amount. So it's very easy, just go fps rig.position.x plus equals sway amount.x. Copy and paste this line and do the same for y. And now the mouse input is going to come in as pixels, so for every pixel we move it's going to give 1, which is a meter in the world size, so it's way too big. So I'm going to be multiplying this by 0.005. And the last thing we're going to need to do is actually pass in the mouse movement to the sway function. To do this we're going to go into the player script, and we're going to give this a reference to the FPS rig. So also go into your player scene here up top, and again grab the view model camera, hold down Control and drop it at the top, and then you can see we have this variable view model camera. Ctrl C, and here in the mouse input all the way at the bottom Ctrl V, and then we can call that sway function. So dot sway, and we're going to pass it a vector2, so type vector2 open brackets, and we're just going to pass it this event relative x, comma event relative y. So now we're passing the mouse movement into the sway, and it should all work. Let's run it. You can see we got an error when we ran that, and that's because it's trying to convert a float for the position to an int. And we can just change that by adding a .0 behind this second argument. Again here, .0. Now we run again. It's working. And you can see our camera moves around up and down. It's still too intense, and it's actually inverted. Actually the up and down is fine, left and right is inverted. So let's swap that around. Left and right is x, so instead of plus here we'll do minus, and I'll just add another 0, run it again, and now you can see it sways in the right direction, it sways by the right amount. Looks good. Alright, now let's animate the pull-up and the shooting. So to make these animations we're going to need an animation player. It's actually very easy to create animations in Godot. I'll show you. Go into the view model and go into 3D, view model scene in 3D, and under shotgun where we want the animations, right click it, add child node, animation player. Search it, and animation player. And within an animation player you can just click the animation button, new, I'll call this one pull up, and now within here you can animate whatever you want. So we're just going to be animating the whole shotgun object, And if you want to animate something, you can just find it in the inspector and click the keyframe button. So for the pull-up, we want to end at this position. So I'm going to go to the end of the animation, right here in the timeline, and add a position keyframe, create, rotation keyframe, create. And then at the beginning of the pull-up, we want the weapon to be down and rotate it down. And then you can add a keyframe for the position, add a keyframe for the rotation. And now you see, we have this pull-up animation. It's that easy. This is actually too slow, so here on the right, next to the little clock, you can change the speed. I'm gonna make mine 0.4 seconds, and then you can just drag and drop these end frames and drag them to the new end of the animation at 0.4. Let's look at it again. That looks alright. Now let's do the put away animation. So I'm just gonna be clicking the animation button again, duplicate this animation. I'm going to put away animation, and I'm just going to be flipping these keyframes, selecting the last ones, moving them a little bit to the front, selecting the first ones, moving them to the end, selecting these ones, moving them to the front. I just did that so I don't overlap them, then one of them disappears. You can see it's very quick, but it's a pull away and a pull up. Next I'm going to go to the reset track, and this is just a track where the position and the rotation were still 0. It's very nice. I'm going to go animations, duplicate this animation, I'm going to go fire. I'm going to be making this one 0.8 seconds, and the first frame I want it to be at the default position, and the last frame as well, because you want to reset back to the start. So I'm just going to move my marker to the end of the animation, select these 2 frames, right click, duplicate keys, and now they always start and end at the same point. And then for shooting, of course, you want some recoil. So back into shotgun, move it all back, move it up maybe a little bit, keyframe the position, vertical recoil, move it, rotate it a little bit, keyframe the rotation, and now you can see it's a very basic shooting animation. Now you can of course make these animations as complex as you want. Right now we're just animating the whole shotgun with the hands attached, but if you want to, for example, do a reload, you can just animate the transform of the hand. So I'll just do it as an example. Go back to the reset, animation, duplicate the reset, reload. I'll make this 1.5. I'm going to take the hand, position, keyframe it, create, and again we want to start and end at the same position for the hand. So all the way at the end, right click, duplicate its position, and then in the middle we want it to be racked back. And then we can just, again in the hand, in a transform, keyframe the position. And now you see you have this reload animation. Now to make these animations look nicer, you just gotta spend a lot of time on them. Look at animation from popular games, copy what they do, and use the easing. So if you select the keyframe in the animation, the easing is how fast it animates. So you can have an exponential, so it starts very fast and slows down at the end, or it starts very slow and speeds up at the end. Let's actually do the easing for this one. So just do it with your hands in real life. The first one is very fast, so it's a curve like this, and then the second one is also a curve like that because there's a lot of impulse. You see? And then you're probably gonna want the shotgun to rotate a little bit when you do this. So for the rotation, duplicate it to the end so it starts and ends at the same position, and at the apex of the reloading, rotate the shotgun back a little bit and keyframe its rotation. Actually, I want that a little bit earlier. And you probably want the shotgun to rack back as well. So you can go into shotgun model. Which one is it? The forend. And also go into transform, key its position. And now you have a track for the forend. And we want to start and end this at the same position. So go to the end, duplicate this key. And it's where the hand is all the way back. So right there you can see it in the keyframes. Also move the slide all the way back and keyframe its position. And you want the same easing for the hand as for the racking, otherwise it looks wrong. So you see this one is 0.25, so this one's also going to be 0.25. You can see they match up. Also for this one is 0.3, so the slide also needs to be 0.3. You can see that's a reload. These animations are very basic, I'm showing you right now. Firing is very basic, the reload is very basic, but you can go as complex as you want, and that's what I'm trying to show here. I'll actually show you the animation from the demo scene I made. Right here, it's not even that complex. This is the firing animation. It's got 4 keyframes and the reset frames, and already looks like that. You can see it's got a nice shoulder bump at the end, a little bit more weight in the recoil. So just play around with it. Yeah. The last thing we're going to do is creating the logic for these animations. I'm not going to be creating really complex weapon logic. I just want to play these animations when I push buttons. So we're going to go back into script, and in the view model we're going to go into func inputs, and we're going to create a couple of inputs. So we're going to go into project settings, input map, and add 2 actions, shoot and use. Actually, we created a reload as well, so let's also add reload. So I'm going to be clicking the plus next to the action to add an input. For shoot, I'm going to do a mouse button and a left mouse button. For use, I'm going to be using E, so just press E. And for reload, I'm going to be using R, so just press R. And then to play these animations, it's super easy. You can just drag and drop your animation player into your code, hold down Control, and you get a variable. And I'm just going to go in the input function, if event dot is action pressed, for example, shoot, animation player dot play the animation fire. Let's test this. You see, now we can shoot. Let's also add one for reload. Now if you're making an actual game, of course your game logic is going to be behind when to do these animations. If a weapon is empty, you're going to be adding all this logic. If you want a tutorial on this, I can do it. Leave a comment down below if you want to see that. So again, if action is pressed reload, we're going to be playing the reload animation. So now we can shoot and we can reload. And last, we're going to be pulling them up and pulling them down, and we need one variable for this to keep track of if the weapon is equipped or not. So I'm just going to go var shotgun in use equals true to begin with, because it's already equipped. And then we're going to go if event dot is action pressed. Use. We're going to be flipping this variable, and how you can do that really easily in Godot is shotgun in use equals exclamation point shotgun in use. So when it's true, it's false, and when it's false, it's true. And then if shotgun is in use, so if it's in our hands, we play the animation, put away, and else we play the animation, pull up, and now when you run it, you can put away your shotgun, pull it up, shoot it, reload it, shoot it again. So yeah, that's it. How to make first-person animations within Godot very easily. You can go as complex with these as you want. Animate the individual fingers, every part of the weapon. If you do make something cool with this, be sure to link me. I'd love to see if you guys make anything. Yeah, thank you.